are going to actually start building this shape, right? So if you see on the left side of the screen, we have the technical drawing that we have already seen, right? Over here, what we see is the actual piece, how it should look like by the end. The only thing that we are going to skip is these two lines over here. But we have the cylinders at the bottom, we have the thickness of the piece, and then we have 8 pieces at the top. Okay. And these are all the measurements that we need. So let us just get to it, right? If you remember, one of the first things that we need to do is create a basic shape. So, what will be the basic shape? We're going to start with the rectangle of the base, right? And the rectangle, we are going to do it in the bottom, at the bottom of the model. So we are going to go right here, if you remember, where we have all the axes and the planes, right? At the moment, if you notice, they are hidden, but I will just click on this eye so I'm able to see them. Why? Because I want you to be able to understand what is it that I am selected at any given time. So if we want to do the base, which will be this rectangle right here, we're going to click on this plane. So what is going to happen, we're going to select create a sketch at the top. If you see, this is an explanation just in case you want to hover over it so it can tell you a little bit more about it. So I'm going to click on it, and while I'm clicking on it, I'm going to go right here and I'm going to select the XY, which is usually the one at the bottom. Then we will start to see this information. What am I going to do? If you notice over here, the information has changed, right? These are basic shapes that I can use to create anything that I want. And once I'm done, I can basically just click on finish sketch. So the first thing will be that I need to create a rectangle that is 15.8 by 31.8. So I will just select the option of rectangle. I will just click first on the origin and then I will start seeing the rectangle. I don't have to click at any point, but if you see, I have the numbers highlighted. So that's where I am going to add the numbers that I have. So it was 15.8. Then I click on top and then I go to the next number, or you can just go and click on it, and it is 31.8. Then at that time, I just click on enter, and that's the size of my shape, the basic size of my shape, right? If you see it is blue on the inside, what does that mean? That the shape is close, right? And over here, if you notice, we will have the numbers of the measurements. Why? Because if by any chance I have made a mistake, I double click on it and then I can just simply write it again, right? 31.8, and then I just click on enter, right? Why is it that I don't have to write millimeters? Because if you remember over here, I had already defined that unit. So given that that will be my first step, I will just go and click on finish sketch. Then I have my first thing, right? I will just go over here so I can see it from my perspective. And then what I will do is step number 2. What would it be? I want to create the volume. If I already have the base, which is this rectangle, let us say, but at the bottom, I need to create this height. If you remember, that height is 9.6. So what I will do is just create and select another different option. So once I have clicked on the sketch that I have, I'm going to click in this one that says extrude. If you notice on the image that is appearing at the moment, we have a sketch and it will just create certain volume. So I just click on it. And if you see, I have an option. One is to just drag this until whatever. I can just simply, if you see once again, I have the numbers right here highlighted. So I can just simply change them. What was the number once again? 9.6. So I double click on it and write 9.6. and then I can click on enter. And there we go. We have the volume, right? That was the first two steps. So the first step was doing the sketch of the base, and the second step was actually creating the extrusion, right? Which is creating the volume. Now, what is it that we are going to do? We want to create something that looks like a shell. If you notice over there on the left side, this is exactly what we have, which is a full solid rectangle. But we want to create something like the image on the right side. Why? Because if you notice in our reference image right here, at the bottom, it is actually hollow, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to go right here. I just go on to go back to the house, and then I can just click on this one, so I can just rotate it so I actually see the bottom. And then I will just click on shell, and it says faces or body. You need to select. So I'm going to just select the bottom face. And then once again, there is another measurement. What is that measurement? Over here, we see it. Although it's not that big, we can zoom in. That one is at 1.2. So that is the one that we are going to write here. If you see, it says inside thickness. That is the thickness of the piece. So over here, 1.2. Then if you see, it is changing. So I click on enter, and then we have this shape that is actually hollow, right? I just go around so you can see it. You should be doing this at the same time, okay? Just make sure that you're following the steps. Otherwise, just go back in the video, and then you can see what is it that I am doing at the moment. All right, then what is our next step? So let us take out the image. What happens next? Then what we can do is are two things. One will be the cylinders at the top or the cylinders at the bottom. We can choose either one. Let us just choose the ones at the top. So that means that we need to look at this view, right? We have all the information right there. How do we start? We're going to be using two different tools right here. One is going to be called the extrusion, which you're already familiarized with, which is this one, and the other one is called a pattern. That is something that I'm about to show you. What does that mean? That I'm just going to create one, and with the system of pattern, what I will do is that I will be replicating just one of the cylinders. But first of all, if I want to create a cylinder, I need to create a circle first, right? Remember that the circle is the 2D shape, and the cylinder is whenever that 2D shape has turned into a volume. So at the moment, given that the cylinders are on the top face of the product, I just select the top face just like you see because it is blue. And then I will once again click on a sketch. Then we are taking here. Then you might say, but how do I know where to place the circle? Well, the thing is that you are going to be creating some guiding lines, which are these measurements right here. First of all, we're going to like define this one, which is 3.9 millimeters away from this corner and 3.9 millimeters away from this corner on both directions. So how would I do that? I'm going to create a line, but the thing is that I don't want that line to be real. So I'm going to click here where it says construction. What does that mean? That I'm only going to use it for a moment. It's not going to be something that is going to become a shape, but it's just a guiding line. So over here, I will just write 3.9. Okay. And then the thing is that it is not exactly what I wanted to go. If you see, I'm clicking on it and dragging it, it is moving up and down. But I need to like tell it that it needs to be 3.9 from this side towards this dot. Doing is selecting the letter D in your keyboard. D from don't. If you see, there is one new shape that appears right next to my cursor. So what I will do right now is just first click on the reference point that I want to have, which is the line, and then on the dot. And if you see, there is a new measurement that appears right here, right? And that is the one that I want to change because I want it to be constrained. which means that it's not going to move from there. So that's where I will be writing 3.9 once again, and then I click enter. And that is exactly what I need to draw the circle. What circle? This is the circle. If you remember from the explanation of the technical drawings, this symbol right here, right next to 4.8, that means diameter. So what I am pointing towards is that the size, the dimensions from this side to the other side of the circle is 4.8. So what does that mean? That if I want to create the circle, I will just select circle. I will stop making a construction because I want the shape to be real. So I'm just going to click in the center, what it says, place center point, right? I'm going to stop clicking, then drag it. And over here, that dimension that appears right there, that is the diameter. So that's where I'm going to put 4.8. And then I click on enter, right? Then I am done. If you see right now, that is the measurement that we have right here. You see the symbol is just the same. Okay, so we are done with this, and I'm just going to click whether it is here or it is here. Finish a sketch. And I am done with the sketch, right? So right now, what is it I'm going to do? I'm just going to go to home so I can actually see the shape. You see, right now I see this shape that is just this shape right here, and I'm going to create an extrusion out of it. So I'm going to click once again in the option of extrude. I'm going to click on this hover area, and I'm going to define what is the height of that volume. So over here, if you notice, this is the height, 1.8. So that is the one that I'm going to enter right here. So I'm just going to write 1.8, right? Um, all right, so I click on enter, and then we have the volume. But then from this volume, which I'm going to select right here by clicking on extrude at the bottom, I'm going to create something that is a pattern. What does that mean? Basically, I'm going to replicate what I have in a given distribution. So I'm going to go at the top where it says create. Well, the cylinder is selected, right? I'm going to go all the way down to where it says pattern. And I have several options, right? But I'm going to choose one that is called rectangular pattern. Why? Because if you notice at the image on the right side, it is similar to the way that the circles have been distributed in our image, right? It's quite organized. So basically, that's what it means. So I'm going to select a rectangular pattern. And then I will just, over here, I will just find some information. I already have the object that is selected, which is the volume. Then I'm going to select the axis, which I'm going to select one. But technically, if you see, there are two different arrows right there. Just so it is easier for us, I'm just going to go and click on the top view. And over here, what we'll see is that the blue arrow is highlighted, right? I'm going to drag it so I see how many are there. But I don't want three on this side. There are only two on the view, right? So I'm just going to change this number from from three to two. And then I'm going to change the distance. What is this distance? Basically, the distance between the centers of the circle. So this measurement right here, which is the 8, right? So I'm just going to change this measurement by 8. But the thing is that there are more cylinders towards the right side. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go and click on this arrow now. And I'm going to drag it, but there are only 16 totals. Actually, I need 8. So I'm going to change this number, which is 3, like in this case, columns. Instead of 3 columns, I need 4 of them, right? And once again, this measurement. What is this measurement? So in this case, will be the distance from this center of this circle to the distance of this circle, right? But then how do I do that? Do I have that dimension right here? Technically, I don't. But I know that this 8 refers to the distance from this circle to this circle, and then from this circle to this circle, and the same from this circle to this circle. What does that mean? That I have 3 distances that are the same. So I know more maths, but the thing is that we need to multiply 8 by 3. So 8 plus 8 equals 16 plus 8 equals 24. So I need to just change this number from 18 to 24, right? So if you see, they are properly distributed, and I didn't have to do each of those cylinders on my own. Why? Because I knew about this tool, which is the pattern. All right. So over here, we already have the distance between this one and the distance between those ones. Do I need to change anything else? In this case, given that I have already assigned this kind of pattern, I will just say okay. And then what happens? I will just go over here to home and see, I already have all of the 8 cylinders that go at the top. All right. So what happens next? If you remember over here at the bottom, we have these 3 cylinders as well. So what do? I just go over here and turn around until I am at the bottom. What do I want to do? This is becoming a little bit crazy. So what I will do is that I need to draw over here. So I'm just going to select this and select a sketch. And if you see, it is rearranged. Give me a second. Right. So this is my view from the bottom. So that means that I'm looking at this view in the technical drawing, right? Some of you actually pointed out that I was missing one measurement, which is just like over here, I have at the top the distance from this corner to this center and to this center to this side. Then I also need to do the same with the circles at the bottom, right? So what I would do, because I already know this measurement, the distance from this center to this side is this one as well. So let me just show you, because sometimes it might be a little bit confusing. So if you remember, I did a construction line the last time. So that means that I need to select over here just before I do the line. And then I reference myself from one of the sides, because the measurements are from the outer part, right? Not from the inner part of the shell. So I'll click on the outside, and then I will provide the measurement, which is 7.95, right? That will be it. And then I also need to measure in the other side. So if you remember, we just press D in the keyboard, and then we select from the outer part towards the point that we want to know, and then we drag, and over here we have the measurement, which in this case, once again, it will be 7.95. Enter. So that will be the center of the circle that we want to do. I just want to show you something, and hopefully it won't be too confusing. But over here, you remember when I showed you that we had this kind of view? These are the cylinders that are on the other side, right? I just want you to see them so you understand how is it that this is going to work. I'm going to create now, I'm going to stop making this line, a construction line, and I'm going to start creating these circles, right? I have 2 circles. If you see here, 4.8 and 6.5. So over here, I'm going to escape, and then I will select circle once again, click on the center, and then I will provide one of the measurements, which is 6.5, enter. If you notice very closely, it is right on the edge of the circles on the other side. What does that mean? That I am creating the cylinders that are going to allow the shape to hold its place once it is attached to another piece, just the same. I hope it is kind of understanding. Sometimes it might be confusing. But anyway, I'm going to create the inner circle. That was, what was the measurement? 4.8. So over here, I'm going to just go back and then create the circle once again. Over here, 4.8. Enter. Then I have it, right? Now we'll just do the same with the other, right? I will draw one first, and even though I have 3, I will just draw one first, and then I will just click on finish. And then what do? You might remember, given that they are cylinders, not circles, Give me a second. I will just go back to the standard view. Sorry, shaded with visible. We have the shape, the volume that we have created. If you see, is down here. So what we're going to do is just go down. We're going to spin it a little bit so we're able to see it at the bottom, right? Oh, this is going crazy. It is easier just to click back on the house and then try again. Turn around, click on the bottom, and then we're going to create a pattern. Why? Because if you notice right here, we have three different cylinders. So we are going to create once again a pattern that is rectangular. We're going to click on it. And if you notice right here, the object has already been selected, which is this volume, the cylinder. And we're going to select the axis. What is the axis? Basically, we're going to choose a line that is parallel to the direction in which I want the cylinders to be constructed. So I will just create and select one of these lines. It doesn't matter. We're just going to select this arrow. So if you see, the volumes are being multiplied. But right now I'm just going to click in bottom so the view is easier. And what I would do right now, the thing is that if you notice right here, there is not a measurement that tells me the distance between each of the centers of the circles, right? But we need to know that. The thing is that if we don't have the measurement, we just need to think about what is the whole point of these shapes. Now, if you remember, um, mm, well, based on what you remember using Legos before, is that they will fit one inside the other, right? So that means that if you look at it closely, this cylinder will fit in with the other cylinders from the other shape. So they need to be more or less aligned, otherwise they won't fit. So what I'm going to do right here, if you notice, I am moving around the blue arrow so it is more or less aligned and it will fit inside, right? This is the same with this one and with this one. This is more or less okay. So we're just going to click on OK. So if we zoom out and then spin it around, we will see that they are the three cylinders. I'm just going to go back to the standard visual style, which is shaded with visible edges only. And basically, that's it. We are going to go to home so we see the full shape that we have created. We are done. And I just want to go over the things that we probably have learned with this tutorial. We have learned how to use a sketch, right? How to create a 2D shape with measurements, with guided measurements using constructions lines. Then we have created a couple of extrusions, both for the rectangle and for the cylinders, right? We have also been able to create a shell, the, the empty um, characteristic that this shape has at the bottom, right? Um, and we were also able to learn how to create patterns, right? We have become a little bit familiarized with the different like menus that the interface has, and now we should be able to create basically any like a standard shape. All right, so hopefully you were able to keep up with the tutorial. However, if you weren't, just make sure to go back and review what is it that I'm doing. Otherwise, just let me know whether you have any questions and I will help you out. Okay?